Hello, happy Sunday. Welcome, Soul Healing Revolution, to week 5 of our temple chats with my husband Edmundo and myself, Cara Mendez. Today, in case you're catching us for the first time, this is a 6-week series that may continue. Where we've been sharing our journey of building our temple. We're here with you in our actual underground temple in Pacific, Missouri that Edmundo built. And today we wanted to share with you on the topic of like going all in on your purpose, saying yes, and what that journey and process looks like, entails, and just a lot of the lessons that we have learned that we wanted to like share with you, because we know so many of you also are really feeling called into your purpose and into your mission. And you know, it's a challenging path. It asks a lot of us, and so we're going to be sharing with you some of those things here today in hopes that as you move forward on your path, like you can remember and understand like what it's actually asking of you. And when you get into moments of it being really challenging, you can lean on some of the wisdom that we share with you here today as you do that.
Yeah. We were just we're talking this morning. Well, the reflection lately has been, you know, how did this come about? You know, and it was a big investment of our money and energy and resources, and just like we questioned like why, how did we get here? How did we decide that we were going to do this thing? And we started like thinking about the journey, you know, all the things that we had to work through, you know, and this temple wasn't something that we decided like, you know, like last week. It was like years of holding the vision, years of coming back to it, you know, and checking to see if it was time, or, you know, just never giving up on that dream of like one day we'll have a temple and we're going to be doing these retreats. And this was like, what, 10 years ago, maybe even longer?
Yeah, we had a vision of creating a retreat center like so long ago. Like, yeah, I would say 10-ish years ago.
And all the things that we had to, you know, all the stories that had to die and all the beliefs that had to die for this to happen, you know. But whenever we said yes, whenever we were like, okay, we're ready, we were ready. We were all in. And we shared this with some of our friends. We're like, hey, we're about to start building this temple. And they were like, okay, cool. And next thing we know, we're digging the hole, we're doing it. And then I have a friend of mine be like, oh, wow, I didn't think it was you guys were like going to do it like right now. Like you guys were going to start like, you know, today. And I'm like, well, yes, but we were ready. Whenever we said yes, when we were like, we're going to break ground, there had already been a 10-year journey to this point. One was like to say, okay, to dream big, to say, you know what is the dream? You know, yeah, to have a temple. And that seemed like kind of crazy, right?
But that just came into form like a couple of years ago. The idea of an actual temple.
Yeah, there was we had the idea that we wanted to create something, and there was like so many ideas, right? It was like a geodesic dome. It was like it was just like a cabin in the woods, you know.
Yeah.
There were so many things, but then the temple came in a few years ago. But the vision of us creating the space, you know, it was like I said, like a 10-year process. Yeah. And you know, I guess whenever we decided that we were gonna, or not desire, but we desired to have the space, there was a lot that we had to explore. It wasn't like, okay, cool, you know, we want to do this, let's go. You know, it was like feeling like worthy of having the space, feeling capable, you know, trusting that we could have it, even if the idea seemed like, you know, almost like unattainable.
Far-fetched. Yes. Yeah. Like a pipe dream, right? Like, I mean, that's really what it was. If we're being honest, like when we first started, we were, you know, our life was kind of in shambles when we started like envisioning, you know, running retreats and having a retreat center. And we were just so naive, but there was just this little flicker of an idea, and we were like, ooh, yeah, wouldn't that be so amazing? And we could have this like nourishing experience, and people could come and stay with us, and we would teach them this and teach them that and transform them. And this was way long before we were really like full in even on our spiritual path, and you know, working in the realms that we work in now. And we didn't have any of the trainings, but we just had this little tiny nudge, you know, many years ago. And I feel like for a lot of years, you know, it wasn't even mentioned. We didn't talk about it. It was just, we had this conversation one time, maybe a couple times. And then for years and years and years, we went amongst our ways in our life, and we were parenting and having children, and
well, I feel like I would think about it, but I understood that it wasn't the time.
Yes, it just
wasn't
right now.
But it was like, it wouldn't go away. It was just like always there, right? And there was different activations, you know, seeing other people doing it, or, you know, just wanting to have a space, whatever, you know, the different activations. And it would come back to that and be like, oh man, yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to build a retreat center somehow, somewhere.
Well, and for me, I had went such a different path with creating an online business, because, you know, I'm a mom of 5, and, you know, we are like an unschooling family. And so I just didn't have the space, like the bandwidth, the fucking mental capacity, like none of that. So it just, to actually have more people in my space, and to have to like maintain and just, it was so far away. It was so far away. Like what I could hold and handle was online only for a lot, like 5.5. Well, we started doing our in-person work like 2.5 years ago ish. So, and even that was just like once every month, and it was, you know, for a day or two, and then it evolved into like 3-day experiences, and it just was not in my it was not something I could hold yet. That's it. I couldn't hold it yet.
Yeah. And we still had to work, go through a lot of different initiations, you know.
So many.
And that's why when we said yes, we were so ready, because we had gone through all those things, right? Before that, one of the things, I think that one of the biggest was like learn to trust ourselves. You know, that was a big one. You know, I feel like in the past, like you were saying, like we just we felt like we couldn't hold anymore. You know, like we couldn't do it, and we had to learn how to trust that. No, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna trust that. You know, we're gonna be shown, and we gotta be patient, and we gotta just like hold the vision, and somehow, some way, things are gonna align for us, and we're gonna have this space. And the things did align. You know, and it was like, I think like, again, like I think Cara and I have said that, you know, we're learning to do, or we've been doing things messy.
Yeah.
You know, trusting that, you know, everything has to be perfect, and everything has to be, you know, 100%, and that we can trust ourselves, that we can pull ourselves through any kind of experience, you know, however big it is.
Yeah, and it's like, it wasn't just like an airy fairy of like, oh, we're just gonna do this and just trust that it's all gonna happen. It was like, no, we made a lot of fucking decisions. We were in it, like working through our trauma, like working through our limiting beliefs, like shedding old identities. Like this is like extremely deep work. You know, working with plant medicine to excavate things that we just would maybe never have had access to in this lifetime without the support of that like ancient technology, you know.
Even like walking this path, you know, like we had to say yes to this path.
Tell them what you mean by this path.
Well, the path of the shaman and the path of the priestess, you know, it's even something that I'm still uncomfortable with, you know. Even me saying that, oh, I walk the path of the shaman. I'm not a shaman, I just walk the path of the shaman. You know, it's been something that I've been working through for years and years and years. Like, all my teachings are very shamanic. You know, we work in this realm of the shamanic realm. You know, we work in this temple. You know, if you look at it from the outside, we're everything says, oh, you're a shaman. But it's still been hard for me to receive that, you know. And again, like I feel like we built this temple before we were ready, you know, before we were like, oh yeah, well of course, you know, shamans, priests, who cares, a little different, you know. But for me, it was that, you know, of like, yeah, I'm still not even ready, but I'm still gonna do this. Somehow, some way, I trust that, you know, this is all gonna work out. And that was a big fuse for me.
Yeah, and that's the part where you're really like talking about being willing to do it messy, being willing to fail and to fuck it up and to get it wrong, to not get it 100% right the first time around, you know, and we talked about this in previous videos around like the guidance, you know, and that's really like, I think such a huge piece of this. Like there's so much that got us here that it would be impossible to share in this, you know, 45-minute piece of time. But like really just trusting and following our intuition. Again, it's like trust, and then making decisions, saying yes, I'm willing to do this is making a decision, saying I'm willing to walk this path. I'm willing to, for me, it was like giving myself to the divine and saying, I am here to be a conduit for you. What would you have me do? Please develop me. And that was life-changing. Like when I surrendered to that, and mind you, even just getting to that place, there was so much doubt that I had to overcome, so much doubt. Like that's been one of my biggest like woundings, is like overcoming this, being riddled with doubt all the time, doubting every choice, every decision, everything, and like stepping in and stepping back and stepping in and stepping back.
And that's part of the process.
Yes.
It is part of the process. I know a lot of us, you know, when that doubt comes in, we question everything, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where a lot of us like just like give up or become too scary, right?
Away.
To live in that space of like the uncertainty, being in the void, you know, not being able to see it, like wanting something but not being able to see it, right? Yeah. Like I don't know how, like I can't even see how this would ever happen, right? And that's when you keep just like, again, Cara was saying, making the decision over and over and over and holding that vision and trusting that it will happen and being patient and doing all the work, you know, being devoted to doing the work. What's coming up? Like, so I feel like this, even like the temple was an activation for a lot of the work we did, right? Directly and indirectly, because there were some pieces that had to come in, and that a lot, a big piece was like that trust, learning how to hold a vision, even when you can't even see it. Right? It's like over and over and over.
Yes. And I want to talk more about like doing the work, because that's like what's coming up for me. It's like sharing a little bit of that process, because some of you are in earlier stages, like you're maybe not necessarily at a place where you're ready to like execute and build a temple, and that's perfect because you can start wherever you are. You know, it's like you just want to like bring your gifts to the world in some fucking capacity. You're just like, I know I have something to offer. I know I have something to give, and I know that there's something more for me. And, you know, for us, it was like, you know, it was taking trainings, you know, it was reading books. It was, I hired a mentor, and I worked and I excavated some of my deepest traumas. You know, we also said, we both did that. Yeah. And in different ways, it looked very different, right? In our past. And we also like, well, I would say Edmundo like led us into the place of the plant medicine, but I was open to it. I was like, yes, I'm willing to give this a try. It was nothing that I had ever done before. And that was a massive transformational pivotal point for us into the deeper aspects of this work. So it's like, maybe that's saying yes to a mentor for you. Maybe that's saying yes to plant medicine for you. Maybe that's saying yes to therapy, you know, trauma therapy. Maybe that's saying yes to a yoga certification, or, you know, for us, we learned NLP and things like that. And I'm not saying you have to go get certifications, but for some of us, we are called to take these certain trainings because they are a stepping stone on our path, right? Like we are offering like a priestess training starting next year. We're going to be opening the wait list for that really soon. You know, we offer these initiation retreats, like as that, like saying yes to this path, like to your path. It's like the initiation to say, yes, I'm ready to walk this path. And, you know, we also offer plant medicine experiences because some people just really need to like clear deeper layers of trauma that they just haven't been able to get access to through therapy, through coaching, through all of these different modalities and different tools that they're utilizing. And so some of your paths may be saying yes to those things first, you know, or in conjunction with, like those can, with you, like pairing those support, those levels of support, right? Because that's what we had to do. We had to say, okay, in order to say yes to this, I'm willing to do whatever the fuck it takes. And if that means I have to like go and feel my fucking most painful, deepest feelings, I'm willing to do that. If that means like I'm willing to, you know, work out some deep shit in my marriage or with like resolve some shit with motherhood, because I know that these are things for my path that I had to resolve. Like I had so much guilt and so much shame around motherhood and how could I be the mother that my children needed and deserved and also do this work. Like that was such a huge like reconciliation, and there's still aspects of them that I'm still working through. But I had to do so much work around those pieces specifically. And our marriage ended up really having to become a priority.
Yeah.
Like that healing our relationship wounds, honestly, is like what brought us to be able to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely a big part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like not only cultivating our self-trust, but the trust within us and within our relationship. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that definitely.
Yeah, like because it freed up, like, and these are the things like where we didn't have the bandwidth before, and so like we had to like clean up our bandwidth and to expand our capacity to hold the vision, you know, and to execute it and to implement it, and that meant like we couldn't be in constant struggle and strife and conflict with each other. We couldn't be in conflict with ourselves, you know, and it was like overcoming a lot of that and working through a lot of those like childhood traumas, past life woundings, ancestral, like clearing through the ancestral lines.
Yeah. Even like right now, I'm thinking about even the process of building this temple, you know, what my approach was, you know, like even though I knew I was going to create this space and it was going to be, you know, a big space and it was going to require a lot out of me, I didn't really put that much emphasis on that. What I did was just like, I just decided to start like one thing after the other. First excavating the space, you know, then laying down the foundation, you know, then installing that first stone, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then all that added up to this. And that's been also the process to get in here.
Yes.
Just like laying foundational work, you know, then building on top of that, you know, and then shit coming up and taking care of it to getting to that point to making that big decision. And for a marriage, it was like that also, you know?
Yeah, like just one step at a time.
One step at a time.
One small step at a time.
Holding the vision and like one step at a time and trusting.
Yes.
And just keep moving forward.
Yes, it's just like listening to the small, still voice, you know, making the decision, okay, I'm gonna listen to that. I'm gonna do what's being asked of me here. Just this one thing, right? Like not focusing on like the big vision, because that's so overwhelming.
And I feel like a lot of us already know this stuff, but we're here sharing with you because it is the process. Sometimes we overcomplicate the process or we question the process. And we're here to tell you that is the process.
Or we make it wrong.
Yeah, or we make it wrong, right? So sometimes, like I see a lot is that people come here and they're like, oh my God, I feel like it's not working, you know, like I've been doing all this stuff and I feel like I'm in the same place. And the reflection is like, no, you're in the process. You're still not there, but this is the process. What you're doing right now is the process. You being here is part of the process. You investing in yourself is part of the process. You're willing to feel your pain and all your emotion is part of the process. Mm-hmm. Following your inner guidance is part of the process. Learn how to listen to that inner voice is part of the process. Like all those little things that we sometimes like think that are very what do you call it, like dominating, irrelevant. It's part of the process. The analogy I use is like if you wanted to go somewhere, right? You put in your GPS and you say you're going to a different city. You put in GPS and then you just follow that GPS, right? And you don't question like if you're on the right highway or whatever. You know you're going to eventually get there, right? And then you just start driving. You drive 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, whatever, and then you eventually get there. It's the same process, right? But not to question it is the key, to just keep moving forward one piece at a time.
Well, and putting the GPS is equivalent to the vision.
Yeah,
holding the vision, right? So the GPS is the vision, and then you driving 1 mile at a time is the equivalent of just that one step, just listening to that next piece of guidance, that little nudge that just that you feel, and it's like. And your journey is not going to be straight. Let's also acknowledge that. Yeah. It's not like you're not going from here to here. You're going back up here, and then you know what I mean. And then you eventually end up here. But it's like, again, a piece of that is that we've both had to really come into trusting and listening into is like we always get there. It takes as long as it takes, but we always get there. We might get lost along the way, but that's okay. We always make our way back home. And this is like a part of that trust that we have cultivated within ourselves is being like, and looking at past evidence in just the smallest forms of just the littlest things of like, what was the goal that you created and that you actually brought to fruition, right? And saying, oh, see, look, I did do that. I can do it. Because it's really easy when you're amidst these like really uncomfortable challenges and initiations and working through all of the things that your purpose will ask of you, because it will ask everything. It will ask everything of you. Yeah.
And also about failure. Failure is part of the process. And I think like what happens with a lot of us is that whenever something doesn't work out, we make it wrong, right? Instead of focusing on extracting the lessons within that, right?
Yes.
And not seeing it as a failure, but a learning opportunity, right? I feel like this temple also showed me that. Well, not showed me, it was a reflection of that also, because there's some things that I didn't see, that I could have considered failures, but actually it was something I had to just pivot differently. I had to move differently. I had to readjust, right? And I had to just be like, okay, there's an opportunity here. What's the opportunity? Like for example, like this stone behind me, it wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be a different kind of materials. And I started digging this hole and all this stone came up, right? And I'm like, okay, well now I have all this stone. What do I do with it? And I decided to build this wall, but it wasn't going to be part of it, right? And
it's like the highlight of the space.
Yeah. But I could have easily been like, okay, never mind. This space is just it become too hard. It was just, I can't do it. But it was just.
Or you could have just like ripped it all out, like and discarded it. Yeah, and not received the beauty of what it was offering you.
Yeah. One thing that I also adopted is that there's in whatever you're trying to accomplish, business, relationship, there's going to be failures. And if you knew that you had to fail 5, 6, 7 times to get to where you're going, then how fast or how comfortable would you get with failing, right? Oh shit! If I have 5 times to fail, then I'll get that thing. Well, then you know what? I'm gonna fail quickly. I'm gonna fail and then move on to the next. Fail and move to the next. Right. The thing is that we don't know how many times it's gonna take to fail. To get to that thing. But that's the process. It's like doing things and not getting it right, and then having to revisit everything and reevaluate things, and then keep moving forward. And
I really struggled with that lesson. Like that felt like such death to me, to fail and to fail and to fail and to fail, because I really came from such like a perfectionist programming, you know, and oh God, that was so brutal and so crushing to my ego, you know, and the protectors that come into play as you're moving forward to this. And I think that that's really important to also really address, is like, when you say yes to your purpose, all of your shit will come to the fucking surface to be dealt with. And it will feel like, what the fuck is even going on? I should not even be doing this. This is too much. And it's like those protectors move in and they want to talk all the shit in your ear, you know, like all of the voices that say you're not enough, you're not worthy, you can't do this, you're a failure, you can't trust yourself, all of those voices, right? And we all know how mean those voices can be, and detrimental and self-sabotaging. And that is absolutely a huge part of what we have had to overcome in order to get here and to be standing in our temple.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to embrace the journey, you know. I think that's been a struggle of ours, to just embrace the journey.
It's so much easier said than done.
Yeah, that's been a big one. Yeah, embracing the journey, because it's been a beautiful journey, you know. Not looking back, it's like, oh wow. So as we expanded, you know, and created this thing, the temple met us there, and we met the temple there, right? And we're no longer the same people that we were like 10 years when we first made the decision, right? And I feel like it had to be that way. It had to be that way, you know. There is no other way. Like 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to acknowledge, you know, or be so grateful, or you know, all the things, receive this temple. There's no way. We were just not ready. So we had to work through all that to be able to stand here today, you know, and feel so grateful, and to see ourselves in that.
Yeah, and there's still more expansion happening as we continue to, you know, sit on our thrones in our temple, if you will, and receive like what we've created, and receive the acknowledgement of others saying like, wow, like you did this, like you brought your dream to fruition. And it's like, oh yeah, we did, didn't we? You know, and it's every time it's even more to receive and more to receive.
I think you said it already or not, I'm not sure, but we have to be developed to be here today.
Yes, we did have to be developed. And I think that the thing that you know, sometimes when we're coming from maybe a little bit more of like our woundedness or naivete, or even like a lack of maturity, you know, we're like, I want it and I want it now. Give it to me, give it to me. I know I have this part. I know I've had this part of me for a really long time. And it was one of my mentors who totally called me out on it. And it was like such a like, fuck you moment. Like I was like, you know, she's like, oh, that's your like bratty entitled like teenager. And I was like, I did not want to see that. But you know, whenever I did realize that there was a developmental process that had to happen in order for me to receive what I desired deeply, it really shifted how I navigated my journey. And it took a lot of the pressure of give it to me now off. And it did finally allow for me to enjoy the journey. Because like, and when you said like, oh, enjoying the journey, and I'm like, I almost felt like a cringe of like, that is almost impossible to ask of people. Like, I know it's like this spiritual thing to say, and it's like, yeah, sure. You know, in hindsight, it's easy to say that, right? But when you're fucking in it, when you're in it, it is not easy to appreciate and have gratitude for the journey all the fucking time.
I'm speaking from this side, right? But you're right.
Yeah, and so like, I just want to acknowledge, like, for those of you who are in it, like, it's okay if you're not totally enjoying the journey. And, you can also still have that experience, and it can be both. Like, it is both. There are a lot of parts of our journey that were not fucking enjoyable. And looking back, we realize, okay, we had to learn that shit, and it had to look like that, and it had to be that fucking messy, so that we could fucking get it finally. And now we can be grateful for it. But to put that expectation on yourself of like, oh, you should enjoy the journey the whole time, and it's like, no. Yeah,
thanks for clarifying that. Because I'm looking at it from the lens of like, you know, I've walked that path and be like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for all the lessons that, you know, at that moment I couldn't see that they were a gift, you know, and that now I'm like, oh my God, thank you for that opportunity to expand or whatever. But in the moment, it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, because also too, it's like, we would never want for you to feel like your journey or path is wrong, or you're doing it wrong, or it should look a certain way. Because like, if I would have heard someone, like, I'm sure I probably did hear people say that like several years ago and be like, I want to punch you in the face. Like, shut the fuck up. You don't know me. You don't know my life, you know, because we're fucking so in it. And that's real too. Like, wherever you're at is real, and it's valid, and you don't have to like make any of it wrong. I think that's really the key here. That's what allows you to enjoy the journey, is to not make any of what you're experiencing wrong. It doesn't matter if you're like having nervous breakdowns or anxiety attacks or depression, or, you know, knockdown, drag out fights with your partner, or you're screaming at your kids. We've done all of that. You know, we've experienced all of that also. And I wish that I would have known to like not make the process wrong during those times. And I also know how almost impossible that can be at times.
Yeah, we were actually just having this conversation in the car, you know, because for years and years and years, I would tell Cara, listen, do you understand what we're doing here? You know that the things we have said yes to, the decisions that we've made, the way we're choosing to live our life, it's not an easy life that we've chosen. We are climbing a mountain. And because we're climbing a mountain, of course it's going to be hard. You know, and then because we're doing this thing hard, we should have, you know, grace for ourselves. You know, we should be gentle with ourselves. And I used to tell Cara this all the time. You know, it's like, listen, you know, we're homeschooling, we're running these businesses. You know, we're devoted to our growth.
We have 5 kids.
We have 5 kids. You know, and I said, this is not an easy path we're living right now. You know, like, be gentle on yourself. You know, acknowledge yourself in it. You know, and then I guess like a couple of days ago, I brought it up. You know. And she's like, yeah, I just couldn't see it.
I couldn't do that where I was. I had so much expectations. I have extremely high expectations of myself and of others. And that's just something I've come to like know and understand and accept about myself, and not make wrong anymore. And that also put me into a different relationship with my expectations. But it did come from a deeply wounded place in the past, and because there was like this trying to prove, you know, myself as worthy, and a lot of that has been shed, so I don't experience it quite the same anymore. But when he would say those things to me, I just couldn't. I was just too deep in my woundedness around needing to like prove my worth, and like having these insane expectations of myself to always get it right. And whenever I wasn't, feeling like such a fucking failure, and wanting to like, you know, self-punish and beat myself up over it, and just feel like fuck, am I ever gonna figure this out? It's not working. And then the cycle continues, right?
Yeah, and well, like, you know, like becoming a parent is going to be one of the most challenging things ever, right? Starting a business is going to be one of the most challenging things ever. Saying yes to your purpose is going to be one of the most challenging things. You know, even marriage, and we were all doing it together at the same time. We were just walking that path at the same time, like being parents and starting these businesses and saying yes to our purpose, and you know, merging our lives together, all the things, you know. So I'm like, listen. Yeah.
He did have that wisdom, and I just couldn't, even though and there's things that we're probably saying here for you today that you're like, oh, I understand, but like you cannot fully like receive it yet. And that's okay, because maybe we're just planting a seed, and whenever it's time for you to open to that, you will. Like Angelique, she's like, fuck, Grace, after my temple session, was feeling so frustrated with, despite being open to whatever, LOL, mad at myself for not opening enough. Yeah, right? Like that's a pattern, right? That's showing you a pattern, and that's the beauty of the session that we did, right? So Angelique came in recently and did a temple session, and she's like, oh, I wish I should have opened more. I didn't do enough. You know, I wasn't a good enough student.
And even in that, you know, like the reflection that we're having is like, you know, it wasn't an easy thing you did. You know, you came here, you know, to work through some like really deep shit. You know, and of course it was going to be challenging, and of course there was going to be things, you know, and to acknowledge that, then you can be easy on yourself. You don't have to self-punish, right? You can see yourself in it, you know, and I think that's when I was sharing this with Cara. That's what I was trying to offer her. Listen, you don't have to feel like a failure. You don't have to self-punish. You don't have to feel like there's something wrong with you. You know, anybody in this situation will probably have the same experience, because it's not an easy thing to do. You know, when people come here for the temple sessions, you know, there's so much thing that happens, but do you know what you're asking of the, you know, asking, and the courage that it took to even come here, to the unknown, into the dark, into the void, you know, and to feel all those emotions that maybe you haven't felt, you know, it's a big ask of yourself.
Yeah, to like delve into like the deepest shadows of your deepest wounds, you know, and traumas, and like the courage and the bravery, like what you said. I'm just like, yes. Like it takes so much to say yes to this work. And I guess if they're like this is like what I really want you to know, right? It's like, I always say this, but like you were so brave and so courageous for saying yes, especially to the work that we do, because we do go so deep. Like it's not just like superficial level, we go so deep in, and it asks so much of you. And wherever you're able to meet yourself is enough. And it is also far beyond where most people ever allow themselves to go.
I have so much reverence and respect and admiration, appreciation for the people that come here, because I'm like, I know what it takes. I know what it takes, and like the commitment, the devotion, the courage, you know, the saying yes to yourself, the investing in yourself. All those things are not an easy thing to do. Not easy, you know, and to like see yourself in it, to acknowledge yourself in that, definitely offers you something.
Yeah, like even just to like use your resources, you know, your financial resources, and take your time and to say, okay, I'm going to invest in myself, and I'm going to trust myself that I'm going to, you know, get some kind of result from this, you know, and that is a huge testament to you.
Yeah, to who you are.
Yeah. I got really lit up around that. I'm like, I feel like that about every single woman that comes into our space. Like, we literally are here in the underworld. This is, our temple's underground. We're literally in the shamanic underworld, the realm of shadow and darkness and death and sex and rebirth and all of that, right? And it's like, we're saying, how much more of you are you willing to love? Right? And like, that is what this journey asks of you.
Well, it's so easy to love your light, right? It's easy, you know, but to love your darkness, you know, it's a whole new thing, a whole new game, you know, whole new thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people that come here for that, to learn how to love their darkness, their shadow, you know, and that's a big ask.
It's a very, very, very brave and courageous journey. It's very vulnerable. It's very tender, you know, because this journey is, you know, going all in is vulnerable. It's vulnerable because it's because then you're put into this position of, what if I fail, and what does that mean? What if I can't do it, right? And these are the questions that are like playing underneath of the surface. We may not have even conscious awareness of them. What would that mean about me?
Well, it really challenged all your human needs.
Yes.
Really
love,
challenged human needs.
safety,
Yeah.
belonging,
Yeah.
significance, all of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like we really honor that as the process, you know, and it's like cultivating this deeper intimacy with yourself, and intimacy is vulnerable.
Yeah, but also like we're such like believers, and we're so committed to this because we know what's on the other side. You know, we've witnessed a little bit, you know, I said that we're not fully there, but we've witnessed what this kind of work does, you know, and how it's changed our lives. You know, I have had my, you know, family members asking me, you know, about this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to argue about it, what I do, or, you know, the work I do, but what I'm going to share is that I am a better person because of it. Because I have addressed my shadow. I've learned to left my darkness. I've looked deep in within me, you know, and because I am that, I am better. You know, I no longer reject parts of me. I no longer, you know, question myself. You know, I embrace everything who I am, even when I make mistakes, even when I fail. You know, I don't abandon myself.
Yeah.
You know, I still continue to love myself in that.
Yes.
It's extremely liberating.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest overarching lesson, like, and that's part of that trust, right? Is like, I am willing to do this really scary, vulnerable, tender thing, and I'm willing to be brave and courageous in walking into this and going all the way the fuck in, because I know that I have my own back. I know that I am not going to abandon myself or violate myself. And maybe we do make mistakes, right? Maybe we do violate it here and there, but we're devoted to cleaning it up, right? And to learning and doing it differently next time, you know? And it's just, again, those like small steps and just little by little. And that's how you cultivate the trust, right? And bringing each of those parts like back into wholeness, right? And that's what we do in all of our work, right? Like, this is the journey, this is the path, this is how we got here, right? And we're like, hey, you want to walk this? We got you. We'll walk with you into the dark.
And I know we're using the temple as like you know, just like the I guess like the vehicle to relate all this information. You know, this is like we're having temple talks because there's been so many lessons in build this temple, but we didn't just build this temple. We've built a business. You know, we've built community. We've built this like marriage.
A life.
You know, we've built all those things. You know, that because of the work we did, because of like everything Cara just said, has given us that.
Yeah.
You know. So it's just it translates into everything.
Yeah.
Your marriage, your business, you know, your parenthood, you know, everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. I think I feel complete. Do you have anything else to add?
You know, just you know, that I think like, you know, Cara and I are both very devoted to assisting people through this process, to remind you, you know, that you're on the right track, you know, to help you overcome those beliefs that are holding you back, you know, those stories that are holding you back, that trauma that's holding you back, you know, to clear that, to make way for your path, you know, to get you that much closer to your purpose.
Yes, and I also feel like, you know, in addition to like how we support people in walking on this path, is like we are deeply, profoundly gifted in witnessing and seeing your gifts and helping you excavate them from your shadow, right? Because our deepest and most profound gifts always exist within our shadow. And that's like why the journey into the underworld that we offer is so important, and why the initiation retreat that we have actually coming up in November is such a significant process, because we take you into that and we show you who you are in that process. You learn how to let those old stories, the veils, the old identity die, so that you can let that true gift emerge from the shadow.
Yeah, and the only reason why we can do this is because we walk that path and we continue to walk that path.
Yes.
And we're devoted to that path.
Yes.
Right? You know, so whenever, when you come work with us, we see ourselves in you. You know, that's the reason why I'm like, oh, I've been there. I remember those feelings. I remember like that, what that trauma felt like. I remember those stories, you know, and there's a lot of compassion in that. There's a lot of understanding in that, you know, to be like, oh, and this is what changed for me to get to the other side. I think that's what makes us really good facilitators, you know, and you know, in our gifts. Yeah,
and as much as like we see you, or we see ourselves in you, you will see yourself in us, you know, and that's really very powerful, you know, and we really make sure to like, people come here all the time and they say, I felt like I was coming home. I feel so seen when I'm here with you. I feel so safe in this space. Thank you for loving me and accepting me unconditionally, even the places where I have not yet been able to do that for myself, right? And like, these are just the constant feedback that we receive. And within that experience, and that you actually started to speak to this earlier about like the benefit of doing this work, is there is a liberation that occurs. And we experience many, many, many different liberations as we set ourselves free and as we love and accept and integrate parts of us back into wholeness. And, you know, this is part of the initiation, because it's in letting the old stories die and in letting the old identities die that we can reclaim our power in that, from that liberation, and reclaim our gifts and use those gifts to serve the world and serve our purpose and go all the way the fuck in.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we said yes to our purpose. Yeah. And it hasn't, like I said, it hasn't been the easiest path, but you know, we continue to walk this path because we so believe in it, because we see the difference in people when they come here, you know. And I mean, there's no better high than that, you know. There's nothing that I can think of that could give me that fulfillment, that aliveness, that, you know, that I'm like, wow, you know, I'm making an impact, you know, in my community, in this world, you know, helping others. And, you know, I want that for you too. Yeah,
like seeing women who didn't have like sensation in their body coming into their body and finally feeling, after many years of horrendous traumas. And she's like, I can feel, I felt it. Yeah. You know, seeing women like coming into the power of their darkness. And by darkness, I don't mean like necessarily like evil. It's just like that primal beingness and being like, this is who I am, you know. And then her work evolving, like sessions that she's facilitating, amplifying, and her clients getting more and more results, you know. People realizing, oh my gosh, I thought that my path was gonna, that I was supposed to be going this way, and actually now I'm supposed to go this way, and I can see that clearly right now.
Even like marriage is improving, you know.
Yes,
that's a big one for me.
Relationships, marriages.
Yeah.
Finding the love of your life.
Breaking cycles, you know, generational wounding, like
cultivating deeper relationships, healthier relationships with your children, healing mother wounds, father wounds. Like these are the experiences, and just like being able to walk the world free of those like tormenting voices in your mind, that heavy weightedness in your body, right? That is just makes you feel like sluggish and dead and heavy. And people making career choices, like walking away from old careers and old jobs that are no longer serving them and saying yes. It's like once you like step into this work and into our containers, it's like you feel held in a way that you've never been held before, and it gives you even greater confidence, courage to make these decisions, to truly live your life, not fear like not live from a place of fear, but like choose to live from love
and to be supported in that.
Yes.
And not having to walk it alone.
Not
knowing that there's people that care about your decisions and are willing to support you through them.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I feel like that's what we offer.
It's so beautiful. And so if you feel called, like if any of this resonates and you're ready to like go all the way the fuck in on your purpose and just say yes to your mission and what your soul is here to do and be and express in this life, we invite you to join us for our initiation retreat, like November 9th through the 11th here in Pacific, Missouri. The investment is $1,666. You can create a custom payment plan if needed. I have a travel guide for you that I can offer you, so you can see like airports and lodging and all of the different options that are available for you in that regard. We have 2 women in already, and we've got 4 more spots available. We would be so honored and just absolutely love to have you. Like we want to spread this work into the world, this liberation, this, we want you to bring your gifts like so fully and wholly online and share them with the world, because we know the ripple out effect and the magic that you wield, that you hold already. And we just want to show you what it is and what's available to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, it's a 3-day experience. It's really fucking amazing. It's we have home cooked, nourishing food for you. We do opening ceremony to really connect and bond and go over all the expectations.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is like, so the last retreat we had 4 women that came and did the retreat, and now I see them out supporting each other.
Yes.
Created this like bond, that is beautiful, and cheering each other on.
Yes.
And,
deep sisterhood.
Yeah, deep sisterhood, yes.
Deep sisterhood.
And I'm like, that itself is just worth the investment of the time.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's like the forever bonds, right? Because you go and you do this really intimate thing together. And you get to witness each other and see each other and support each other and like acknowledge each other, and you're there for them during this like really profound transformational experience. And when we go on this like amazing like wild woman hike together, and we're connecting with the earth, the Primordial Mother, and we do a fucking sweat lodge together that just like really takes us to our edge. And then we do a group temple session together that is just like a whole fucking vibe in and of itself. And we're sharing meals together and, having, we're circling around in ceremony, just really allowing ourselves to be seen in a safe space.
And also to like, to be of service to others. As we're service to you, then you become your service to others. You're able to see yourself in that. Even see your gifts and supporting, other people. And that's also really cool to see.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely a what the fuck was that kind of experience. It's very hard to put into words. It's extremely mystical. But it's also something that you get to take home and it literally just reprograms your DNA, your cells. Like it leaves a completely new like energetic blueprint on your system, to where now like you get to walk through life embodying this new blueprint that is created for you, this imprint in your system of who you are and how you get to be, what's available for you in the regards to everything you desire is yours, expressing your desires, really just learning how to embody and operate from your feminine essence, healing your masculine and your masculine protectors, through Eddie's codes. And
also getting really clear on what you're available for and what you're not available for. That's a big one too. Yeah,
and like clearing a lot of like victim consciousness violation, self-violation, again, like that self-abandonment and self-rejection, and really learning how to be there for yourself and also to be held by others. That is such a huge piece for so many of us, though, especially the people that we work with. To be held, to allow others to hold you is a game changer, like an absolute fucking game changer.
Yep. One last thing, and then I guess we'll you look really hot.
Thanks.
What are you doing later?
You.
All right, we gotta go now.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Because we definitely will.
All right. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and following along with us in this journey. And please reach out if you have any questions about the retreat or any of our offerings. We're just so super honored to be here and to be sharing this journey with you. We love you. Take care.